So today we're removing the fan clutch out of this '07 Dodge Ram 3500. Remove the 4 bolts or the nuts that hold the fan shroud to the engine brace, and if you flip the seal back and tie it with tie wraps, it'll make it easier to remove the clutch. There's one little brace on the bottom down there that holds the wiring harness, so you'll have to get that out. Now the fan shroud and the fan blade are going to have to be removed as an assembly because you can't get it out of there, but tying this back like this in this position, folding the lip over, gives you much more room. We'll get in there with the hub release tool and the air hammer in a second. So this is the tool I'm going to use to remove the fan clutch from the front of the water pump, or the actually isn't the water pump on this, or the front support. And it has a number of wrenches. I've got the current one on there right now, and it's used together with an air hammer like this, and you can see I have the wrench installed. So if you're ever wondering which way to turn this thing to release it, look at which way the fan blade actually rotates. Based on the pitch of the fan, it rotates counterclockwise. So that's the same way we're going to have to turn the nut to release it. So I have to turn it the same way, counterclockwise. So it's a basic normal thread. See if this will work unrehearsed. Slide the air hammer into the slot and give it a sharp burst. And just like that, it released. Now I can put the tool off to the side, take the wrench off, and remove the pulley. Now there are other tools for doing this, but I find that to be one of the better ones out there. I'm just spinning the fan blade now to release it. Be careful at the very end, it's going to fall off, and you don't want it to fall because the blade might crack. There. So now we can pull that fan clutch and shroud out of there, all in as an assembly. So normally if you're just changing the fan clutch like I am, you don't necessarily have to take the fan shroud out completely. Just lift it up about halfway and you can sneak the fan blade out. But this customer complained about another issue, and that was a serpentine belt squeal. You can see it's got a fairly new belt on it, and I suspect that this power steering pulley is not pressed on completely. I notice it's not flush with the end of the shaft, and that usually causes a problem. So we're going to bring out the laser aligner tool and check to see if that pulley is off or not. So here's the belt alignment tool, or the pulley alignment tool. It's a Dayco part number 93874. We'll get that set up on the crank pulley and see how it lines up with the power steering pulley. I don't know how good this is going to show up on the video, but the laser pointer is magnetically attached to the harmonic balancer, and the target is on the power steering pulley, and there's a little line on the power steering pulley right on the target, and it's off by at least 1/8 of an inch. So this pulley, as I suspected, has to be pressed on another 1/8 of an inch. Now hopefully it's going to do that. We'll have to get the power steering pulley installer and see if it'll move. Well, I managed to push it on a little bit further, see if I can see that on the camera, but it's still not quite right. It's still off a little bit. I don't want to focus. Anyways, we'll continue pushing it on and see if it can get a little bit more. Well, that's as close as I can get it. I think that'll be good now. It's pushed on another 1/8 of an inch at least. You can see the end of the installation tool nut, which would be flush with the end of the shaft. Normally that pulley's pushed on until it's flush, and that was the case here as well. You see the alignment line is pretty darn close to the center of that white line. Well, it's not making any noise now, but it didn't make noise when it was warm. Nevertheless, it looks lined up now. We'll have to see what it's like when we start it on a cold start. So this is the reason why we're changing the fan clutch, because the solenoid that controls the viscous clutch is open, as you can see, across the two diagonal pins in the connector. I will move it over to the new fan clutch. And the same two pins on the new fan clutch here. It's the two diagonally across from each other. There's one pin missing in the corner. And there we go, 7.09 ohms resistance across the solenoid. So solenoid's open in the old one, and that's what was setting a fault code. I can't remember the exact fault code, but I will post that in the video. Okay, so it's back together. We're going to scan it now and clear the codes. There should be a code for the air induction system, the air intake, air temperature, and barometric pressure, because I had that unplugged, as well as a history code for that cooling fan clutch solenoid. And let's just see. Yeah, manifold absolute pressure, cooling fan speed. I don't like that. Cooling fan speed active. That's a new code. Well, let's clear these all out and see what happens. Clear codes. Sure. Yes. Continue. Codes. Alright, cool. So we'll look at data here. And I think it's under accessories. Desired radiator fan pulse width, radiator fan speed, and RPM. Anything else? Well, let's fire it up and see if we got those two data parameters. Sign. You see that it's going to take a while for the fan to slow down because the oil has to be dispersed throughout the fan clutch. That looks good. Just make sure there's no codes. It's a beautiful thing. Well, we'll run this up to temperature, take it for a road test.